Hey there, friends! Welcome back to another bite-sized movie review. This is going to be a Halloween special, hopefully the first of many to come. I'm talking about Sleepy Hollow today. There have been many versions of this story, but this is Tim Burton's version, released in 1999. It's an hour and 50 minutes. This is rated R for blood and gore and some action violence. And there's a lot of ways to characterize this movie or to put it in a genre, but I would say this is a supernatural murder mystery with horror elements, with some action as well, and some blood. Yeah, it's a murder mystery. This is directed by Tim Burton, and it's. I'm not going to spoil anything, not anything major, just the things that you may have seen in the trailer. Well, it's an older movie, so yeah, there are some twists and stuff. I'm not gonna, talk about that, but um, I love this movie. I love almost all of Tim Burton's movies, so that's kind of not a shock. But this is probably one of the most Tim Burton-y type of movies that he's done. It's strange, it's bloody, it's funny, it's action-packed, and it's surprising at points. And I think it's his first horror movie because a lot of his other movies are weird and creepy, but they're not horror based. This is definitely that. And it is loosely inspired by the short story by Washington Irving, which I also like. But yeah, we have quite a cast here. To be honest, most of these actors are just here to get killed by the horsemen. But hear me out, they're great. We have a lot of great actors. It's kind of a small cast. We have Johnny Depp once again, another Tim Burton role, and kind of a normal role for him. He's not really creepy per se or eccentric. He's just a police constable, Ichabod Crane. You may have heard of him. He's sent to Sleepy Hollow because there are murders going on. There's this horseman that's cutting people's heads off, and he's sent there to figure out why. So yeah, Johnny Depp's in here, great as always. We have Christina Ricci as Katrina Van Tassel, one of Sleepy Hollow's residents. In fact, all the cast members are residents pretty much. So the beginning kind of takes place in New York, and then they go to Sleepy Hollow for the majority of the film. Speaking of the beginning, we have Christopher Lee, the legend himself, as the burgomaster of New York. Kind of an extended cameo for him. And then we have Casper Van Dien as Brom Van Brunt, another resident of Sleepy Hollow. And Michael Gambon as Baltus. We have Richard Griffiths as a magistrate, and Ian McDiarmid as Dr. Lancaster. So quite a few actors in this. I'm not going to mention everybody, but there are quite a few people coming and going throughout this. And lastly, of course, the Headless Horseman himself, who is played by two people in this version. We've got Christopher Walken pre-death, and then Ray Park post-death. So yeah, this is a fantastic movie, just all around. If you love Tim Burton's movies and you have never seen this, give it a chance like I did, because it is great. Like, it has this... The best thing I can say about this movie is the atmosphere. It sucks you in so much because you have this real town of Sleepy Hollow that was built from the ground up, and it's just amazing. Everything is real. It's all there, which is great. And there's very few CGI effects. Most of them are used for jump scare moments, such as when the witch of the Western Woods shows up. There's a jump scare moment with her. Same with the horseman when he gets his head back near the end, which is just great. And yeah, I love the style of this. The story's pretty simple. It's Ichabod Crane. He's sent to Sleepy Hollow. He's trying to figure out who this horseman is, and is he really real? Is he not? Is there a human killer? So we're following him. He's like investigating these murders during the day, and then at nighttime is where the real good stuff happens. That's when the horseman comes and chops people's heads off. It's so well done because the horseman is shown mostly in darkness, and it's kind of fun because there's something to look forward to. You like seeing Johnny Depp as Crane, going around and investigating all these people and, questioning them during the day using different scientific, instruments and examining bodies and such. And then during the nighttime, all the action starts happening with the horsemen chopping people up and running through the forest. And it's really cool. Like, either way, there's something cool happening. And also, I can't forget Danny Elfman, the legendary composer that he is. He makes a brilliant score for Sleepy Hollow, where it's very epic. It's grand. It's very loud, bombastic music, but at the same time, it's also very creepy, haunting, very tragic sounding, and it works so well. Once again, his music is just phenomenal every time, and here is no exception. So I wanted to mention him, and it's just a great movie. The look of it is fantastic. You got this like depressing town, and this is a 1700s movie. That's where it's set. So it's like this old timey town, almost Victorian era. I'm not sure exactly the point that this is. Maybe like, yeah, it's not exactly clear when this takes place, but it is in New York. And it's cool. It's like this old-fashioned type of look, which I love. I mean, that's kind of Tim Burton's style. It's very like old school looking, like sort of timeless-ish in a way, a macabre sense of of fashion. But I like it. It's great. All the costumes are brilliant, and it's just great. Like, it has a great look to it. And once you find out what's happening, I'm not gonna say, it also is great. The reveals and stuff are great. There are a lot of amazing action pieces as well. This was a lot more action heavy than I was expecting, which was a great surprise because I'm a major action fan. That's one of the things I love about movies is the action, the stunt work, all that kind of stuff, physical motions. And when the horseman shows up every time, it's all physical fighting, and it's great. It's so great. And yeah, speaking of the horseman, there are several scenes with him that are iconic, such as the opening scene, the first victim, and there's the scarecrow scene. There's the chase near the end in the western woods. There's the Tree of the Dead scene, which is great. My favorite scene is an action scene where Brahm encounters the horseman, and he and Ichabod are teaming up to try to fight him. And it's so cool because the horseman's like a very skilled fighter with a sword. So him and Brahm are both fighting with these cleavers, and they're trying to hold him off, and it doesn't end well for Brahm. Ichabod gets away, but it's just a really cool scene. Like, the way it was staged, the fight, it's really well done. All the action's great. When people's heads are getting chopped off, those are actual heads that were made, and blood spurting everywhere. And the blood in this movie's interesting because it's almost orange. I guess it's supposed to be like fake looking ish. I mean, it looked pretty real to me, but apparently this is supposed to be a kind of an homage to Hammer horror films, which are like these old films that were made in the 60s. And a lot of these cast members like Michael Gambon and Christopher Lee, Richard Griffiths, they're all kind of most of them are horror veterans, so it's kind of cool to get them in here. And also Michael Goff is in here as well. I found it interesting that Tim Burton got these like horror veterans to kind of come in and play these roles, even though they get killed. It's just kind of cool to see them in here. And yeah, it's a really cool film. I like the way that the story progresses. You find out slowly more about Ichabod's past and his relationship with his mother, and then you find out that he's attracted to Christina Ricci's Katrina. They kind of have like this back and forth, and there's a lot of good twists too. Like, I knew nothing about this movie, which is probably how you should watch it. Do not look it up. There is so much twists and reveals and turns and surprises. Do not look anything up before watching this, because it will help. It's a murder mystery, so you're going along with Ichabod. You're kind of discovering it with him, and then, the exciting action happens. And when these people get killed, you're not necessarily sad because some of them are kind of bad people, sketchy people. So yeah, it's kind of fun when they die, and it's great. I love the look of the most iconic thing in this movie is probably the headless horseman. Let's be honest, and he is fantastic. The way he looks, his backstory is great with Christopher Walken pre-death, and then post-death, Ray Park hunting people down, and they picked a great choice. Ray Park is a great stuntman, so him as the horseman, it just makes sense. He has a lot of physicality. He can really do a lot of these fighting and moving, and it's kind of cool. Just the way everything was shot with him, and his skills with the sword are fantastic. Uh, so yeah, great work there. This is probably Johnny Depp's most underrated performance of like no one seems to talk about him as Ichabod Crane, which is interesting. Uh, Everyone talks about Scissorhands as great, of course, and him as Jack Sparrow is iconic, yeah, and Willy Wonka's great, but no one really talks about Ichabod Crane, which I mean, there's so many versions of the story, so you kind of have to pick and choose which one. This is one of the more different ones. Apparently, this is the most different version of the story. Like, it's not like one to one. It's apparently radically changed, which, I mean, it's Tim Burton's work. He's gonna stray away from that. So, that didn't bother me. I thought it was cool. I think this is probably the most unique version of the story that I've seen. And definitely my probably this is one of my favorite Tim Burton movies now. It's became an instant favorite. As soon as I finished it, I'm like, I was very impressed. I love it. I love the look. I love the action, the story, the cast. It's just very well done to me. I wish I saw this earlier because this is like right down my alley. Murder mystery. You got, you know, all these people like during the day, and then we're following the horsemen at night. It's just really cool, and the look of it is fantastic. Yeah, it's a Halloween movie for sure, so I thought I'd cover it because it doesn't take place on Halloween, but it's very appropriate for the tone. Um, so yeah, I thought I'd cover it. Definitely one of his more underrated movies. Give it a chance if you haven't. It's dark, it's a little bit depressing, but it's very interesting. Like the story is, there's a lot to it. I'm a big fan of this one. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like Sleepy Hollow? Have you seen it before? What are your thoughts on Tim Burton's movies? Definitely in my top 5 of his for sure. I'm not gonna reveal where it is, but it's very close to the top, just based on the look of it. But let me know what you think. Do you like Sleepy Hollow? Which is your favorite version of the story? And let me know what you think of the cast in this movie down below. This movie has a mixed reception, which I think is very interesting. Um, but yeah, those are my thoughts. Very positive. Let me know what you think, and I will see you for the next Halloween special, which will be very soon. Take care, and I will see you the next one. Have a great Halloween.